Welcome back. Every year for 35 years, the New Jersey environmental group Clean Ocean Action has been cleaning up the beaches at the Jersey Shore with the help of a few thousand volunteers. And this year was no exception. Here is Alison Jones, Program Director at Clean Ocean Action. Alison, thanks so much for spending some time with us today. I know that your organization just had a beach cleanup. How did it go? What did you find?
Thanks so much, Larry, for the opportunity to be here today. We had our spring beach sweeps on April 17th this year, and it was truly beyond anything we could have imagined. We had 5,500 volunteers registered to participate, which was truly incredible. And that's actually, if that many people turned up to the beaches on that Saturday, that may exceed a record that we had even pre-COVID. So overall, it was a really fantastic day, and people came out and showed their love for the Jersey Shore, and they clearly wanted to get out and do something positive.
And what did you find?
Well, we found all the usual suspects: plastic pieces, plastic caps, cigarette filters, cigar tips, all these smaller pieces of plastic that are so prevalent out on the beaches. But we also found a decent amount of PPE, disposable face masks, reusable face masks, rubber gloves, disposable wipes were all certainly in abundance, unfortunately, out on the beach.
I would think that the pandemic, keeping people inside for the last year, would have an effect on what you found. I would think that you would find substantially less trash, less plastic, less objects on the beach. Was that the case?
Well, it's hard to compare because unfortunately in 2020 we had to cancel our spring beach sweep. So in comparing annually, it's a little bit tough because we only have the fall data. However, just anecdotally, if you think about what people were doing during the pandemic, so you had a lot of takeout services, which inevitably means a lot of foam and plastic containers, and those, if they're not properly disposed of, can find their way out to the beach. And then, on a positive note, we had so many newcomers and people really turning to places where they could be outside and turning to the beach as a refuge in a sense. It was somewhere they felt they could safely go. And unfortunately, we had many visitors to the shore who maybe weren't so conscious of their practices and picking up after themselves at the end of their lovely day at the beach. So we had a lot of reports from the towns of increases just in litter that was left behind by people. And then, of course, the rise of all new debris of PPE that we have never seen before. All these face masks and gloves were certainly on the rise from people not properly disposing of them.
Yeah, I can see how the rubber gloves and the plastic gloves could be a real problem. I know every year you put out a list of the bizarre things you find. What did you find this year?
So at the 2020 beach sweeps, we had some interesting finds. As always, you just never know what's going to turn up. A check for $81 is one of my favorites, mainly because it's so hard to even find anyone who writes a check anymore. And then to find a written out one at the beach is very interesting. A New Year's Eve party hat and a cocktail shaker, which I don't think were found on the same beaches, but people people having their parties out on the beach. Sign of the times for sure was a Trump 2020 flag that made its way to the beach. Someone's wedding souvenir glass was out there. Toys, we always find a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. And some of the stranger, more personal things, we did find a pregnancy test, a back scrubber, just all manner of bizarre things finding their way.
Was the pregnancy test positive or negative?
We did not get that report back.
Let me talk about something a little bit more serious and something I know that you've been dealing with. There is a fish kill going on in the rivers in Monmouth County. I suspect there's other counties involved too. But what is happening?
Yes, so there's been an ongoing fish die-off in Monmouth County, specifically in the Navesink and Shrewsbury rivers, or the two rivers area. as well as the Barnegat Bay. And so the DEP has been keeping track of these die-offs since actually going back to November. But starting around end of March and early April, the severity really increased, and we started to receive many reports from citizens of really thousands of dead fish that are now washing up on the shoreline. They're in mats in the rivers. I mean, it's truly heartbreaking because you're seeing the fish as they're dying, they're spinning in circles coming up to the surface. So the DEP at this point has confirmed that it's a species of bacteria called Vibrio anguillarum. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And it's specifically a bacteria that targets fish. And in this case, what we've been observing is that the bacteria has been only impacting and killing menhaden, also known as bunker.
It's not dangerous for humans?
Well, the DEP has released guidance suggesting that people should be really cautious if they're going to handle fish, if they want to clean them up off their property, that they should wear protective gear. And particularly for immunocompromised people, or if you have an open wound, you should certainly avoid contact with the water. And really for anyone in general, it's just safer to avoid contact with the water. That's the information that the DEP has put out at this point.
I guess at this point, they do not know what's causing the increase in that bacteria?
No, unfortunately not. There's been speculation for sure, and some theories. The bunker specifically, they school. They're a schooling species, so there's an idea that maybe they're kind of stressed from being in these tight quarters, basically, and that the stress of that has led them to be susceptible to this bacteria. But as far as the cause for the actual increase in the prevalence of this bacteria and why it's in this area right now, they're still investigating that.
Well, I know your next beach sweep is in October. Are you always looking for volunteers?
Of course, October 23rd, we have our fall beach sweep. We'll have locations at anywhere from 60 to 70 locations up and down the state, all the way up in Bergen County and down to Cape May and back around in the Delaware Bay. So we're always open to volunteers, and it's a great COVID safe event where you can be outside and gather with your family and friends and feel safe and comfortable and do something positive for the environment.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thanks for the time today. Alison Jones, Program Director at Clean Ocean Action. Next on Jersey Matters.
Small businesses have been impacted since COVID-19, that's no secret. But we'll tell you about an industry that is booming. Coming up next on Jersey Matters.